Hello, Craft! This is Sinon with the WoW Dungeon, and in this video I'm going to be going over the Feral class and how you, as a hunter, can kite them. Damn, it feels good to be back. Alright, to start off, what is a Feral? A Feral is a kitty cat from the Druid specialization, and they primarily do damage through their bleeds and bites. So most of their damage is going to be over time, while although instant, a lot of it is going to continue doing damage to you and can even kill you through to something like deterrence. So keep that in mind. Now, there are 4 categories that I've put these feral abilities in. There are gap closers, cooldowns, the feral stuns, and defensives. These are the 4 main things that you're going to want to be aware of when kiting a feral. So let's get into the first one. Alright, now to get started on the gap closers, let's read off some of the ones from pretty much the lowest cooldown to the highest. The lowest cooldown that the feral has is Skull Bash. This is a nasty ability. It's a 15-second cooldown that pretty much is like a ranged kick that lets them charge forward. Skull Bash says that you charge and Skull Bash the target, interrupting spellcasting and preventing any spell in that school from being cast for 4 seconds. They can also use it as a gap closer on a hunter, so be wary of it. It's on a 15-second cooldown. The next one is Displacer Beast, which is on the first talent tree of the Druids. And what Displacer Beast does is teleports the Druid up to 20 yards forward, activates cat form, and increases movement speed by 50% for 4 seconds. It's similar, it's like a mix between a Blink and a Shadow Step. Whereas Blink can remove stuns, this cannot, and while Shadow Step goes to a target, but then it increases movement speed, this just teleports them forward. The next one is Stampeding Roar. And what Stampeding Roar does is the Druid roars, increasing the movement speed of all friendly players within 10 yards by 60% for 8 seconds, and removing all roots and snares on these targets. So that's something also important to remember, is that they also have a 2-minute cooldown for that. And it'll increase their movement speed by quite a bit. They also have Dash, which activates cat form, removes all snares and roots, and increases movement speed by 70% while in cat form for 15 seconds. So for 15 seconds they are moving quite fast. And if they have the glyph of dash rolling, it reduces the cooldown of their dash by 60 seconds, making it a 2-minute cooldown. So already off the bat you can see that ferals are extremely scary for hunters because they have so many ways of blam! Getting right on top of you, especially with that Skull Bash, which is a nasty ability because it's on a shorter cooldown than your disengage. Unless, of course, you're taking Crouching Tiger, Hidden Chimera, but shouldn't be rolling with that anyway. Alright, so a feral has pretty much 4 major cooldowns. They also have Savage Roar, but I'm not going to put that in there because they're probably always going to have that up. Now the first small cooldown that they have is Tiger's Fury. It's a 30-second cooldown, and it increases physical damage done by 50% for 8 seconds, and instantly restores 60 energy. Because it's going to be lasting for 8 seconds, they're pretty much going to pop that quite often, especially when they're trying to increase the damage. They're going to have Savage Roar and the Tiger's Fury up. Now, the two big cooldowns to look out for is Incarnation, King of the Jungle. Essentially, it is like a 30-second shadow dance for a feral. It's a talent in the 4th tree for ferals, and what it does is it states that it's an improved cat form that allows the use of Prowl while in combat, and causes Shred and Rake to function as if stealth were active. So that means they can be out, rake you, and stun you. And that lasts for 30 seconds. And then it says you may shapeshift in and out of this improved cat form for its duration. So pretty much they can keep it and use it. What it also allows them to do is vanish, essentially. So it gives them a little vanish. They can go poof, disappear, maybe run away, then come back at you. And then the other one, Berserk. And what that'll do while using cat form, which they'll usually use in cat form, reduces the cost of all cat form abilities by 50%. So essentially they'll be able to keep compounding a lot of damage onto you. And that lasts for 15 seconds. So essentially what they could do is they could pop Incarnation and Berserk together, or they can pop Incarnation, see how things are going, and then pop Berserk somewhere through that. Now the other one, Heart of the Wild, this is a nasty cooldown. It's a 6-minute cooldown, so you only have to watch out for it once in a while. But this is when he literally just wants to break you into nothingness. When activated, it dramatically improves the Druid's ability to tank, cast spells, and heal for 45 seconds. So he is going to be extremely tanky while he has Heart of the Wild up, and he'll be very difficult to kill. So usually you just have to kind of wait that period out, because frankly it's going to be very difficult to kill a Feral Druid while Heart of the Wild's up. So those are the main cooldown abilities that a Feral has. Pretty nasty stuff. Now, the Feral has 3 different options in terms of stuns. He has Mighty Bash, which is a talent in the Tier 5, which will invoke the Spirit of Ursok to stun the target for 5 seconds, which is on a 50-second cooldown. He also has Maim, which is a component which is used it's kind of like a kidney shot. He has to build up combo points, and then he can, bam, hit you with Maim, which will stun you for up to 5 seconds. And then he also has Rake, which if he uses Rake during Stealth or during the Incarnation, King of the Jungle, it will stun you for 4 seconds. So those are the 3 main stuns that he has. So essentially, as a hunter, you pretty much know that you're going to be getting stunned a lot. On top of that, if he chooses not to go Mighty Bash, he'll probably be taking Incapacitating Roar, which is a 3-second disorient in a small radius, along with, and he'll also take like Typhoon, which is that boom knockback that they do, or they'll take Mass Entanglement, which will root everybody within a certain radius. Usually, if they're dueling a hunter, they're going to take Mass Entanglement because, frankly, knocking the hunter back isn't going to be that helpful. So those are the main stuns that the Feral has. So essentially, he's always going to be stunning you. So finally, there is some good news. Ferals don't have the strongest defensives, which is good for us. They do, however, have Claws of Shirvala, which is their last level 100 talent, which will allow them to cast Rejuvenation without having to shapeshift out of cat form. So they'll pretty much be keeping this up as much as possible. On their Tier 2 talent, they have Cenarian Ward, which protects a friendly target for 30 seconds. Any damage taken will consume the ward and heal the target for a percentage over 6 seconds, which is usually a pretty substantial heal over 6 seconds, much stronger than Rejuvenation. They also have, and you can Trank Shot it, so if you see it up, I would Trank Shot it immediately because it's on a 30-second cooldown and they won't have their heals for a little while. At the same time, they also have Survival Instincts, which has a 3-minute recharge, but it has 2 stacks, so they can pop both of them pretty quickly, and although they will want to space them apart. What it does do is Survival Instinct reduces all damage taken by 50% for 6 seconds. So they have a max of 2 charges, so it's very similar to Deterrence, only it doesn't deflect things. So what they'll typically do is, if they're getting trained for a long period of time, they probably pop both, back to back. But normally they will not be stacking the 2 as they are multiplicative, which means that they'll reduce in effectiveness if they get stacked on top of each other. So those are the 2 main defensives. I wouldn't really call Rejuvenation a huge defensive because they can pretty much just keep that up as much as possible, or as often as they like. So yeah, those are the 2 main defensives, along with Heart of the Wild, which is the big cooldown that I talked about. Alright, so let's get into the video. Alright, to get into the actual kiting, I recommend, from the hunter's stance, to really just take 2 things. You want to take Post Haste, and you want to take the Master's Call glyph, and obviously the Explosive Trap glyph, but I shouldn't have to mention that because that should be a given in any PvP situation. The reason why I say take Post Haste over the net is because the Feral can shift into travel form to dispel the net, shift back into his attacking form, Claws of Shirvala, and pretty much make you waste the net, and you have no benefit from the disengage other than some space. Whereas post-haste, yes, he's not wasting a second or two on global cooldowns to travel in and out, but you get 8 seconds of very fast movement, and if you're doing it right with concussive shots, etc., he's not going to be able to catch up to you for quite some time. So those are the two things that I definitely recommend taking if you're going up against feral, or if you're in battlegrounds where it is very heavy amount of ferals. So essentially what's going to happen anytime you're going to be in a fight with a feral, most of the time you're going to get opened on by him, and he's going to open on you with Rake. It's a 4-second stun, much like a cheap shot. If you're by yourself in a battleground where there's not a lot of communicated support, a great thing to do, well, you pretty much have two options. You're going to Roar of Sacrifice to prevent his bleeds from critting you, or you're going to Trinket. You pretty much never want to eat an opener from a feral when you're by yourself. You're going to die. You're going to die. If you're in a team, obviously that's different. You have the possibility of eating it, but those are your two options when you're by yourself. Personally, I would recommend that if you're by yourself, to Roar of Sacrifice or Trinket, and then try to bait a Trinket from him by freezing him immediately. It's easy. It gets your cooldown on your freezing trap rolling, and it opens you up to kite even further should you need to if he uses his Trinket, and then you can just reapply the freezing trap when it comes off cooldown, which is also pretty smart, especially if he pops cooldowns. So that's what I would recommend doing it right away, right off the bat. The second thing I would recommend doing is Explosive Trap. You want to bait him into committing to staying on top of you by using the cooldowns of his gap closers like Dash and Stampeding Roar. So you want him to start using those things so that way he can try to stay on top of you. You want to bait the Displacer Beast or the Skull Bash. After you Explosive Trap, try to keep Concussive Shot, Frozen Ammo, or your Glaive Toss slow up on him 100% of the time. Try not to overlap these things. So you want to maybe Glaive Toss first, and then Concussive Shot once the Glaive Toss slow goes down, and then just obviously your Frozen Ammo is just going to passively be applied. So you want to make sure not to overlap them, because if you do and he dashes, then you might not have anything for a few seconds, especially if the Frozen Ammo doesn't apply again. So keep the slow on him as much as you can 100% of the time after the Explosive Shot. When he commits to you with a gap closer, disengage, possibly with a Master's Call if you really need to. Disengage and keep running from him. You're going to be much faster than him, even if he has Dash and Stampeding Roar up, because he's going to be slowed. You can still reapply slows after he's used Dash and Stampeding Roar, because while they remove snares and roots, they do not make him immune to them during the duration of those buffs. So keep the post haste, keep running away from him, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Another thing to note too is when he pops Incarnation, get the hell away from him. If he's charging at you with Incarnation up, or if he's popped Incarnation, you're going to want to Trinket, and more than likely Deterrence if you don't have a way to create some distance. If he gets frustrated because he can't catch up to you during Incarnation, he's most likely going to vanish, so that way he can wait out whatever it is that you're doing and then creep up on you and then reopen on you. During that time, try to keep running away from him and try to get the bleeds off, so that way you can camouflage and get the hell out of there. So that is my guide on how to kite a feral from a hunter's perspective. Now, I'm hoping that you don't go take this video and be like, yes, I am going to demolish Druids. You might be able to. There's a lot of Flavor of the Month feral Druids playing right now that may not know their class as well as you've just been learning about theirs. So, just to keep that in mind, ferals are pretty overtuned right now. They have an exceptional amount of output that the hunter is going to really struggle with. If you're playing against a feral who's equally as geared as you and maybe a little more skilled, it's going to be heavily in his favor to kill you if you're trying to duel him. So just keep that in mind. Try not to get frustrated. Ferals are going to be pretty hard to handle, much like Rets or Death Knights, by yourself as a hunter. The main point of this is to help you survive long enough that you're going to be able to prevent him from doing as much damage as possible and give your teammates an opportunity to help out with peeling or doing damage back to the feral. So keep that in mind while you're going out there with these new tips and understanding of the feral class. So I hope you learned a lot. So thank you for watching my video and supporting my channel. I do want to take a quick announcement to make about my channel. I apologize, this week I've been wanting to put out a video. It's been taking me a little while. A little bit of personal information for me. I've been working 7 days a week since October, so these videos mean a lot to me. And the support that I've gotten recently is really motivated me to keep doing this. Even working 7 days a week, I still try to put out these videos. At the same time, I recently applied to a graduate program, so I'm going to have a lot more free time now that that's over with, and now that I'm not going to be working as many days a week. It'll be 6 days a week, but it won't be 7 days a week, so hopefully I'll be able to go hardcore parkour and put out a lot more videos and keep you guys updated on my progress as I start getting a little bit more hardcore about my arena and arena improvement and gameplay as a hunter. So again, stay tuned for the next installation of these series. I will be putting out more content through the next week and the week after that during the Christmas time. The next class that I'm going to be covering over is a Ret Hunter, which is, a Ret Paladin. So that's going to be fun. I hope you enjoyed the video. And if you haven't seen any of my videos, I'm going to be linking some links at the end of it. So thank you again very much for supporting my channel, and I will see you next time.